Hey, welcome back to the table. So let's get ready to start. It's now the turn where we get to go, or we might get to go. So quick reminder, we talked a lot about how the Saxons, if you're a human player, this is actually a very valuable card, but for us, it's not. Getting Saxon Federati is sort of nice because they do fight on your behalf, and you can almost use them like cannon fodder. Like, you can make them march into places and do attacks, and basically, ideally speaking, you want to use them to die. Because if they die, they can't revolt against you, right? So, I don't want to dismiss the value of Federati. And in fact, the blue player is probably more inclined to use them, because then you can send them into the mountains and in places where you don't normally go. But the problem is you still have to spend actions to march them. You still have to spend actions to battle. It's I think it's more valuable later in the game than it is at this phase. But this is nice because you're getting 3 war bands. But unfortunately, you do put a settlement. And one rule, this was on Board Game Geek, the designer made it clear. I think it's even in the playbook, where it says here, if none there, 1 settlement. This is mandatory. And what do I mean by that? So let's say I pick this location. I have to put a settlement here, but both places are clogged up, right? So the natural inclination, I think, by most players is, oh, well, I just can't do the action there, right? Because there's no location for a settlement, so I got to go pick another location. That's not true. You go here, and it's mandatory that you have to put a settlement, so that means you have to destroy the town or the fort. Now, that's the other reason why the Saxon player will pick this, right? So if the Saxon player picks this, it's a free way to destroy a fort. You can just pick this location and say, boom, the fort's gone. And now, granted, it's only in 2 places, right? Regni or Cantiaci. But the Cantiaci is like a perfect spot. Look at this. There's a fort here, and then this fort counts against the patrols in both oceans. So that's a real deadly spot. And so what they could do is they could put a Saxon settlement there and just say bye-bye, and that's all part of the event. So this particular event is very, very nasty. Now, in an AI mode, I don't think it's as nasty. So we can look here. See, it says right here, play unshaded to replace fort. Actually, it is in the AI. I apologize. So the AI does it as well. So right here, play unshaded to replace fort, otherwise shaded to remove more enemy than Saxon. So they do have it that you would want to play the unshaded portion. Arguably speaking, that unshaded portion is more valuable. Now, it's only going to be me and blue, right? Or red. I'm saying me and blue as if I'm red. It's only me that goes, red and blue. So we don't need to worry about this. But what it does is you remove 2 prosperity from, and then 5 pieces total, other than cavalry or forts. And then you can remove their strongholds, but only if it's the last thing in a region from those 2 places. So this is also nice because you could see how we have like all these units here. We could actually remove quite a bit of them from that region and make it easier for Saxons to raid. This is a Saxon card through and through, but the Saxons didn't choose it because this is a conditional one. It's not one with the shield, so that's not in their priority list, okay? So, do we want to do this? No. This event card is worthless for us. So let's move to what's the next event card that's coming. The Civitatis may place 1 town where a Briton piece. It's bad English, but it just means wherever there's a Briton piece, we can place a town. Now, we did have a town destroyed somewhere. Where was that? There's a place for a town up there. So that's worthwhile. It's just anywhere that has the black label. So you can do a real quick look here. So where was the town destroyed from? Oh, way over here. So we lost a town in Demoni there. We could place a town there, but only if a British piece were in that location. This is actually a very nice one for blue. Crumbling walls, battle an enemy as one of its strongholds if coup de main with a roll of 1. So, okay, so I know we haven't talked about coup de main, but basically with a roll of 1, it means that you completely snuck in and you're gonna, you completely bypass the phase where the town gets to kill you, but you don't get to do anything, right? So they get to take like a free shot at you because you're scrambling up the walls or whatever. Basically, the coup de main lets you just completely skip that because you just came in through the back door. So this is actually really bad for us. And you can see that the barbarians have a conditional element on whether or not they would actually use it. But I think blue may want to pass just for this event. But let's see how this plays out. Red goes first. We're not doing the command, or sorry, the event. So red is going to do a full command and a feat. But we got to figure out what exactly are they going to do. So what can they do? Well, we talked about this. There's the train, which would let us create towns. And we actually get 2 prestige if we do that, right? Here, we get +2 prestige if we create a town. It's nice. I mean, we already know that blue might pass to create a town anyways with the next event. But blue is totally fine if red makes the town, because then blue can play. And they would maybe, you know, try to get money or something of that order. I don't know what the exact criteria would be. Okay, so we could obviously march. Cavalry don't do super well off the roads. It's a bad idea. Let's just put it that way. Now, we are allowed to march. We may pick up comitates or blue federati or even militia. This is where the federati comes in handy, because then you do want to march those. And that's where the federati actually helps red, because red could use the federati to march into places that their cavalry doesn't want to go. So as much as I just downplayed all that, it is actually good for red to do. Now, intercept can't be done. There's no raiders anywhere where there's a road. And then battle can't be done because there's no place to do battle. So train is really the only thing they can do. And then with the train is build, invite, or requisition. Now, requisition is we can, for each of up to 6 spaces, we can transfer 1 British resource plus all plunder to Duke resources. Oh, I'm sorry. This one is we're converting. We're basically stealing money from the civitates and giving them to us, ourselves. This one, I'm sorry, invite. That's the one where we actually make federati auxiliaries. So we can train, march, or intercept. So 1 space with a Duke piece and friendly control. It costs 0 resources or 1 per converted piece. So if it's a region, we can place up to 3 Saxon or 2 Scotty warbands and 1 matching settlement at a vacant site, or replace a fort, all with red federati markers, or pay 1 resource per piece to convert the blue federati into ours. So we can actually steal federati from each other. And then lastly, you can build, and this is the thing where we can gain +2 prestige if we build a town. You know what? Prestige is how we win. That's how the red player wins. So we're going to go for prestige. Since we can't kill any barbarians, let's do it this way. So we're going to do a train plus a build. Now, the train doesn't let us actually train anything, but here you could see in each space we can pay 3 resources to place 1 cavalry per fort. We're not going to do that. If it's a town or a hill fort, we can do up to 2 militia. Now, we do have 2 militia we could bring out. Then pay 2 resources and up to 2 regions to add prosperity equal to population. So we can get some prosperity back on the board, which gives us points. So this is actually the perfect move for us. So we're going to train, and then we're going to build. Now, to build, we have to pay 3 resources to either place a fort or replace 2 militia, or 1 hill fort and 1 militia. with a town. So we probably want to place the 2 militia so that way we can replace it with a town. That's what we want to do. So we want to pay 2 resources in up to 2 regions. Okay, I'm sorry, that's for oh boy, I'm just really screwing this up. So let's, here's where I want to build the town. I want to build a town here. Okay, so that is going to be 3 resources for 2 militia. So I'm going to spend 3 from blue. 1, 2, 3. They're down to 5. Okay, so now it says I can pay 2 resources in up to 2 regions to add prosperity equal to population. So is there anywhere that I want to do that? And then also it's 3 resources to convert it to a town. So let's do that first. So I'm going to spend 3 more resources from blue. 1, 2, 3. They have 2 left. And I'm going to basically convert these 2 militia I just created into a town. In doing so, I gain 2 prestige. So I'm up to 8 prestige. And then this goes up to 77. Like so. So we're good there. And now I have 2 resources left. So what I could do is add prosperity equal to population in one place. That's all I can afford. Or I can spend the red resources, right? We've been hoarding our own resources too. We actually have 3 because we passed that one round. So where would I want to add prosperity? Remember, I can only add as many as there are population, and I can't exceed the population. And what's crazy is we actually already are maxed out in a couple of spots here. This one, of course, would be great, but we don't have control there. We could add here, but there's only a population of 1. This one would work. We could add 2. That actually looks like the best one. We could go up here in Votadini and add 2 there. Yeah, so let's do that. So we're going to spend the last 2 resources and basically bankrupt blue. And we're going to add 2 more prosperity, which puts us up to 79. So we're in a healthy victory stance right now. And we're going to add 2 resources back to this area. Okay, so I know it's all convoluted and whatnot, but that basically covers it. And blue is grateful because now what we basically did is we made it so they don't need to do this event. And now what that creates, though, is that the AI may end up doing it against us. And that's part of the challenge with this game, is you really gotta pick and choose your hills you want to die on. Now, blue is stuck doing either the event card, which they could do to create 3 war bands and a settlement, or one of these. So they need money, and as you can see, muster is not going to help. They're at 0 money. So they could do trade, which is going to give them $1. Unless there's some location that actually, oh no, there is. De Bruni here has 2 towns in it, so they can get $2. And you know what? That is the only thing they really can do. They can't march, they can't battle. I mean, they could battle there, but they would lose miserably. If they march, it costs them 2 resources. So they would love to march troops out of that location right there and maybe move over to that way. But yeah, they're going to have to just generate resources, and they're going to be able to generate a whole $2. Or they could still pass. That's actually, I think, the better option. They're going to pass because they go first next round. So they're going to pass and get $3 instead of just 2. And then what they'll do is they may do the command only with no feat. So that'll prevent them from getting the event card. And that command is not limited. So then they can do an unlimited command. They just can't do like a rule, which would be the feat that goes with it. It's a nice feat, but they don't have to do that. So yeah, that's how we're going to end the round, or turn, if you will. And so they're all going to be eligible, and now only red is alone. So this card goes away, next card comes out. As we know, blue is going first. And then this is the next card. So here you can see the Civitatis may battle a barbarian in one space with free reinforce. It's a one time with free reinforce. What is reinforce? Reinforce is a feat that battle spaces of Britain control adjacent to battle spaces. So it's 2 resources per space. You would still have to spend the money, but for each space, either move up to 1d6 minus 2 Britain's troops, Duke troops only if they agree, to adjacent battles. Or you can muster militia at the battle. You can do either or. So you can put militia at the battle location, or you can move from an adjacent place. So that's a really nice way to create a battle against green. It's actually a pretty cool event card, but I think they're going to want to go during our current turn here. But look at this one. The papal oversight is that the Civitatis have to pay 10 resources. So that's pretty bad too. They can potentially lose 10 resources. But you can see here that it's not a priority for the AI. So there's a good chance that they may not choose to do that. They'll probably raid instead. And then you can see that red has no interest in it at all. Okay, so with that being said, yeah, and +4 to reinforce rolls. So for the reinforce rolls, yeah, you can move up to 1d6 minus 2, and you get to add +4 to that roll. So that's actually a pretty cool event for blue. But I think we're going to have to, we don't want them to do this, where they do a coup de main attack against us. Oh, actually, well, here's what's interesting. It says battle an enemy at one of its strongholds. The only place that can be happening is green could do it there against our hill fort, and that's it. So there's really not even a place. So what I'm trying to say is we could theoretically pass and get that next event, which lets us battle a barbarian with free and reinforce. Interesting. I'm going to continue. I'm going to actually just do this command up here, which gives me unlimited, well actually, I'm going to do the command plus feet, and we're going to go ahead and go up. Remember, it's rounded +1. Sorry if I'm speaking so quickly because my mind's going through 100 different possibilities. We're going to do the trade, and it says that it's 1 resource per space for prosperity. I'm sorry, add 1 per town in target spaces. So we actually have 15 towns now. So we're going to go up 15, and we're not going to do this where we pay a resource to add prosperity equal to population. We're not going to do that. Instead, because red's actually winning, and we don't want them to win too much. Instead, we're going to do rule, where we're going to spend 6 resources to get 3 wealth. So we're going to go up 15 and down 6. So that's a net of 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we're going to gain 3 wealth, which puts us up to 7. Okay, so now the next player that gets to go is Saxons. They don't have any raiders to return. The event's not effective. They're not first or second on the next card. 1d6 roll of 1 and 2 and settle certain to add something. There is nothing to settle, so they can't do that. Can the warband attack would remove an enemy's last unit and or assault? No, they do have warbands now, but there's nothing to attack. And they're going to raid. So let's do the 1d6 roll of 1 through 4. I rolled a 3, so yes, they're going to raid. Otherwise, they could have used the event. That's what this would have let them do. As long as the event's effective and not this, they would have played the event. Okay, but they're going to raid. And so, here's the deal. they're going to roll 3d4 raiders at enemy control and or 2+ prosperity. So they want to spend money if they can. And where are they going to raid? Where there's the least subtractions, that means no patrol, which is here. And then they're going to either go where there's the highest difference in population minus enemy troops, or into the fens. Now, if they don't do that, if it's a free raid, they're going to roll 3d4 wherever there's most prosperity, period. Okay, if it's a 1d4, then it's going to be at no net raider subtraction, which means no patrol, and at least 1 prosperity, and priority is to the fens. Okay, so I don't think we're going to need to do this. So we're going to raid 3 spaces, and it might turn out to actually just be 1, 2, 3. But let's roll 3 dice. I rolled a 3, 4, and 5. Okay. The 5 is in the fens. The 3 and 4 is the highest difference of population minus enemy troops. Okay, so population minus enemy troops. Here is 2 minus 1, so that's a 1. This is 2 minus a million. 2 minus a million, and minus a million. So remember, they want to go where there's enemy control and prosperity. Parisi is actually a really nice one for the Saxons to try to take out because it cuts off the road. There's a little road that goes right through it. All right, so this is going to be one of the locations. Unfortunately, we got to pick another one where there's the highest difference in population minus enemy troops, and it's got to have 2+ prosperity. So the next one that we pick could actually be the same location. Yeah, so we're going to do 2 of them, 2 raids here, and clean that out. We're going to take all 4 of those. Now, they could, if they were able to do a feat, they can do this thing called surprise, which would let them go after this juicy target here, right? But there's no feat, because this is a limited command, which the AI gets to cheat, and it's not limited for them. Now, if you were a human player, that limited command means you only get to raid 1 location. You don't get to raid, 3 spaces. Okay, so then this next one has to be in the fens, and with least subtraction of raiders, but we don't have any more directions. So we're going to go ahead and roll a die, see which one it goes to. So it is a 4-1. Okay, so wherever that randomizer is, 4-1 is Carvetti, and then it's going to go up to Cantiaci. So Cantiaci is the target, which is this guy right here. All right, so I don't know why that's there. I think that's from a long time ago. And that one's also from a while ago. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so they do have to pay. This isn't a free ticket for them. So let me just, I think it's 2 resources or 2 renown. 2 renown to place 3d4. And they're doing 3d4 in all 3 places. So that's going to be 6 renown. They have plenty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so let's do this location first. That's 3, 6, 7. So there's 3, 6, and 7. And they would not choose that location. My apologies, because there's no prosperity there. So they would have chosen this one. We'll just go to the next one down. Well, actually, let's verify. After Cantiaci would have been Curiel-Tauvi. It would have been this one. So let's move everything over. They would have gone here. All right, and so they will take 2 because the population's 2. And red loses 2 points. Okay, so now, do they have enough to do a battle? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like we said. We have a lot of troops here. This is interesting. The town can hold 4. So let's just say we do it that way. And then the fort can hold 2. So all the troops would be able to retreat if they needed to. And let's look at the chart. A fort with 2 units in it is 10. You need 10 raiders. I'm just putting the camera down so I can use a pointer here. So we have 2 units in the fort, so you would need 10 raiders to defeat that. And then a town with 4 units in it would need 13 raiders. That's how you read that. Now these little dice here on the right, you're wondering maybe what that is. That's the coup de main thing. So what it's saying is if you roll a coup de main of 1 here, you only need 2 raiders to win. And so it gets a lot easier, as you can see. The coup de main can be quite deadly. All right, so back to this. 7 is not enough to take anything, so they're not going to battle. All right, so that is done. I'm going to move this off, even though it was in the wrong place. And then we have 2 raids in the same spot. So I'm going to go ahead and roll. And I rolled a 4, 8, 10. Oh my gosh, I rolled a 10. Okay, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. They're going to be able to do some battles here. Okay, so 10 is going, and they're going to take 2. So let's do that, and red goes down by 2. They are no longer winning. They're just at the cusp. And they can absolutely demolish in the battle here. So can they do ambush? Only in their home terrain. So we are going to get to retreat. And so we're going to be up against a hill fort with 1 unit in it. So just, fast forwarding through all the stuff, you can see that during the assault, the coup de main thing happens, but then we do the escalade. That's the thing I was forgetting, the word escalade. So the defenders are going to get to do basically a free attack. So for a hill fort, it's only a half damage. It's got 1 garrison unit, and then it has 1 unit that's in it. That's this militia. So we're going to kill 2, and then we're going to kill 2 more, because now they're doing hand-to-hand combat, but then these both get destroyed. So the hill fort's gone, and so is the militia. And so is the British control. So the British control marker goes away, and the British are no longer in a winning scenario. They lose 2 points. Okay, so very effective Saxon raid there. And then the next one is going to get the raid. And now we have 4, 7, 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And they're going to take the last 2 here. And red's going to lose 2 more. Now, there's all kinds of implications with what they just did. Not only is that region uncontrolled and they took a lot of points away, but this road is now cut off. So all the cavalry up here can no longer intercept anything in the south and vice versa. So these cavalry are now, that road, it's maintained, but it's not available to us anymore. So we can't use it until we gain control of that region again. So that is where the barbarians can really be nasty. And that is a typical spot that we get cut off. It's either here or here that we get cut off, one of these two. And they're both very nasty because they're like the heart of our roads. So this Parisi thing hurts. And chances are they're even going to settle here because they got a lot of units, and they'll probably try to settle at a later turn. All right, black is done with its turn. It definitely did its damage. So now red and green are back up, and this card goes away. Now this one is available. We do remember this one. And then the next available card, It's the epoch. All right, so I think the moment that this is drawn, we do the epoch. So that card goes back on top, and we do the epoch. The round is now over. So nobody gets to take a turn. And we now do what's called the epoch stage. Now, just to warn you, I have somebody that's going to be ringing my doorbell. And I apologize, I try not to record when those things happen, but this is one of those nights. So if that happens, I'll be cutting off the video. But let's go ahead and at least start the epoch phase. So what's the first thing you do? Well, first thing you do is you just move this little marker here. We are on the first step called Anona, right there. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and grab the epoch player aid, and the epoch player aid is wonderful. You just go start on the top left, go down all the way to the end, and then you're done. It tells you everything you need. I hopefully don't need to look up a lot of rules here. Okay, so the first thing that happens is Anona. So I'm going to read these to you and just explain to you what happens. Not all of these are going to impact us. Like, for example, the Anona is not going to impact us at all. The Duke, then the Civitatis, the order matters, may pay resources to place plunder on Federati troop. Okay, what does that mean? What you can do is you can pay a resource and then take a plunder from, I think it's off map. Actually, that is something I would have to look up. Or is it from the location? I'd have to figure that out. See, I don't use Federati that much, but it's pretty easy to look up. But anyways, you have to pay them. And then what they do is they get a gold cube, and that gold cube is then used as the payment for them. Then in each space that is not carrying a plunder, or in other words, you didn't pay them, you remove the markers and then transfer all plunder carried by the Federati to the renown of that nation. If there were Federati that were paid and are carrying plunder, then those that weren't paid, all the Federati, even the ones that were paid, that plunder goes to their nation. It's a little confusing, but that's more or less what happens. And this is actually going to hurt the Saxons a lot. And when we get there, you'll see why. Okay. Released warbands, Scotti then Saxons, plunder their region's prosperity up to the population. Released, of course, means that it's the Federati that was released. So that answers the other question. That's when they take it from the region's prosperity. This other, where you put the plunder on, that's from off map. This is from the actual region. So if you fail to pay them, then then what happens is the warbands that got released, they then plunder their local area and get paid. They take their pay from the locals, basically. So we don't do any of this because we don't have any Federati. So that's why I'm reading it, and I'm sorry for the confusion, but we don't have to do any of this. Okay, next, we're going to be determining if somebody wins the game, basically. So first thing we do is hoarding. The Civitatis may transfer British resources up to half the number of towns rounded up to wealth, 1 for 1. So the number of towns is 15. Half of that would be 8 if we round up. So 7.5 rounded up to 8. So can we transfer 8 resources? And the answer is yes, absolutely yes. And that was why they did that action that they did. So we're going to spend 8 from 12, and we're down to 4. And they actually get 8 wealth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That was a wonderful turn. Okay. If the British control 21 to 30, the British control, by the way, 35, or total prosperity plus prestige is 31 to 55, that is 73, we would shift to autonomy. That's not happening. if the British control less than 20 or that, it's going to go to fragmentation. Definitely not happening. If any shift occurred down the Roman rule or autonomy, then prestige actually gets divided. And then also the wealth gets divided. So you actually lose prestige and wealth when you go down to autonomy or down to fragmentation. Now, if the wealth minus prestige is greater than 10, we actually made a run for this, but we didn't quite do it. So we have 15 wealth, but the prestige is 8. So it's not quite 10. Then what would have happened is the military dominance would have shifted to civilian. And then if the wealth minus prestige is less than 5, which it's not, it would shift from civilian to military, but it's already military, so we don't have to worry about that. Now, we check for victory. And here's what's interesting. The only faction that could win right now is red, because we are in Roman rule and they have victory. They have military control. And the answer is no. They're 2 points away from winning. So they were 2 points short right there. So they failed to win. Now, if we were able to get enough wealth to shift this over to civilian, you can see there that blue was also 2 points away from winning. So it's very close. So here's the deal. If you play as the Duke in a multiplayer game, your best chance of winning is actually in that first epoch. If you play as the Civitatis, your best chance of winning is also in that first epoch. Now, I have seen other players going for fragmentation, and that's another nice strategy. But in that situation, the Duke player is playing a long game instead of a short game. I really think that the best player to win the short game and win the quickest is the Civitatis, the blue player. I don't think any other player, especially the barbarians, has a chance at doing that. The red player should never do it as long as the barbarians do their job. You know, if you have incompetent barbarian players that aren't raiding and causing red to lose points, then yes, red can win. But it's the blue player that usually can pull it out, because if you get enough wealth like I just did there, you could have 10 more wealth than them and sneak out a victory. We almost did, if you see what we just did there. But anyways, that's it. So no faction met their victory condition. So now we have to resolve our event card. And by the way, if you're following this thing, which you can see I never moved, we're already here, here, and now there. Okay. These almost always screw the Duke player, just so you understand. The Duke player hates the epoch cards. They are epic. I apologize if I'm pronouncing these wrong the entire game. Epoch sounds right to me. I have no idea. Okay. Anyways, this is never good for him. But Constantine III, bid for the purple. So it's going to impact the Duke. Oh, sorry.